Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Great Black Speakers Podcast, where we connect through conversation. I am your host, Clarence Watkins. I am the founder and CEO of Great Black Speakers and also the president and chief operations officer of the Black Business School. Today, we're connecting you with Mr. Clarence McAllister, who is based out of Phoenix, Arizona. Clarence is the CEO of Fortis. He's going to talk a little bit more about that, but they specialize in federal government construction, hub zone opportunities, opportunity zone, real estate development, and many other things that he's going to get into today. Today is very special because this is, I think, the first interview that we've had on this subject of opportunity zones, and it's something that's new, and a lot of people don't fully understand. So we brought in Clarence to talk more about just his role in the whole opportunity zone ecosystem, telling us what it is as well, and how more people in our community can benefit from the opportunities that these new zones are creating. So, Clarence, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Here in Phoenix, Arizona, well, first day with 90-degree weather.
First day with 90-degree weather, and it so happens I'm in Scottsdale by happenstance, visiting my sister and the rest of my family out here. So Clarence, can you give the audience a little bit of background in regards to, just what you've done in the past and also what you're currently doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Born and raised in Panama, came here when I was 18 years old, attended Arizona State University, have a degree in engineering, MBA, and started a construction company. Now this is our 19th year in business, based here in Phoenix. We're a general contractor, design, build company. We work for the federal government primarily. We also do some commercial projects, and more lately now with the opportunity zones, a segue to get into real estate development, because that's kind of, I believe, what our community needs. Not too many people of color that are actually doing real estate development. So we're really excited about the opportunity to do that.
Wonderful. So you moved here from Panama when you were 18 years old, went to college. Now you received your MBA as well. You have your degree. You don't hear too many people with that type of background actually getting into construction, right? So there's this stigma that construction jobs are held by people who may not have a lot of formal education, those types of things. Can you talk about why you got into construction and how it's benefited your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've always liked to build stuff with my hands, right? And I was always good at math and physics, so I went for a degree, a career in electrical engineering. But really, when I got out of college, I got a job with a large multinational doing telecom engineering and construction. But once I stepped out on my own, I realized that you're right. There aren't a lot of people with my pedigree, which, by the way, I'm also a licensed professional engineer. So there aren't a lot of people with my skills, master's in engineering, an MBA, involving construction. So I figured, that could definitely give me an edge over the competition, right? Being able to speak, walk the talk and be able to use the skills that I learned in engineering school to build. So been doing construction now for almost 20 years, and now my next step is move up the food chain, is how I like to call it, right, into a real estate developer.
Let's talk about that, right? So do you come from a family of entrepreneurs, or are you the first in your family, or what?
I am actually. I do come from family of entrepreneurs. Actually, my father was a pharmacist. He owned a pharmacy, and this is going back in the 1940s in Panama. He was a business owner. He was a pharmacist, and he was a politician. So even though I was not even born back then, I always heard about stories about my father, how he built his business, and very well known. So that's something that I always carried with me, and I always he always told me you want to be your own boss. So I did all the right things instead of get all my college education all the way, but I always had that business desire, to be a businessman from very young age. So yeah, I'm the second, perhaps at least a second, probably more in my family in business, and we're really proud of that.
Got you. So you started almost 20 years ago, in construction or starting this business. How was it starting out, right? So how were you feeling when you made that leap? Was it something that you just felt like you were destined to do since your father was an entrepreneur, well known, preaching, these types of things to you since a very young age, or were you nervous or scared?
Well, I was. This is, you recall the late 1990s, 2000s. And on the one hand, I felt scared about starting. On the other hand, the economy was going downhill, so nobody was hiring, right? So one of those things that swim with the sharks, or swim or perish in the water, right, or drown. So on the one hand I was scared, but on the other hand I had no choice, because the economy was not in very good shape and nobody was hiring. So I did prepare for all those years, and I just needed that little push, right, of the economy being a recession, to be able to start my company.
Got you. So you started, like I said, 20 years ago. You got started. You've grown your company, and you've done very, very well in terms of first selling to the government. Your contracting services, your building services, and now with opportunity zones. And I think that's fascinating because you don't hear many Black folk worldwide, the United States, however you want to frame it. You don't hear about many people selling to the government in that type of way. People think it's too complex, or they don't know how to get started or what to do. So can you talk more about that in terms of how did you land the U.S. government as your client to sell your services?
I agree. I mean, I worked, my primary client when I started the company was the telecom industry, because I worked for a large telecom equipment manufacturer, and I was serving the wireless carriers, i.e. Sprint, Verizon, AT&T. So they were actually my primary clients for probably about 8 years into my business. But then I found about all these programs, right? Like the 8A program, the MBE program, the HubZone program. And you're correct. A lot of red tape is not easy. Just getting certified could take you almost a year. And I didn't have any background in the military or working in that industry, so it took me a while. But because of the red tape, and many people saw it as a high barrier to entry, I realized that once I was in, there could be more opportunities, right? Less competition, in other words. So worked through the motions, got a couple of mentors, right? At least I looked at people that were doing what I was doing, or what I intended to do, and got some advice, and got certified, and now it's almost 10 years serving the federal government.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, and it's I find it interesting that you mentioned the high barrier to entry to get registered for these programs, and get your certifications and that type of thing. So once that happens, take us behind the curtain a little bit. What type of opportunities are available for those who go through these special programs, who are part of HubZone, and like those different types of things? Like, what's available to those people that aren't available to just the general public of those individuals who may own businesses?
Absolutely. I mean, so the federal government is the largest customer in the world, right? When we talk about the federal budget, right, we talk about trillions of dollars, right? So what company has budgets of trillions of dollars, right? And then within that budget, they have at least 25%, 23% small business goals. So you can imagine, just a quarter of trillions of dollars is still trillions of dollars, right? And the government buys everything, right? From pens to paper to consulting services to engineering, construction, promotional products, everything. So it's definitely the largest customer in the world that we can say that will never go bankrupt, right? Because when they run out of money, they just print or borrow some more money. So it's not like you're going to go work for them and you're not going to get paid. They may be delayed in paying if the budget doesn't pass or whatnot, but they're always spending money, and especially when there's a recession. When there's a recession, they tend to spend more money, right, to reactivate the economy. They want to put money in the streets. So certainly there are all kinds of opportunities, and you don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to be in construction, right? Whatever you do, even if you sell food services, right? Whatever you do, being a stylist, whatever it is, because the military bases, they buy everything. They require all the services, janitorial, whatever it is. So really the sky's the limit. Of course, certain products or services require higher initial investment, like you get into construction, right? You need to be able to bond the project or finance the projects. But if you're selling pens or paper or HR services, some of those other services have a lower initial investment required.
Got you. So we're going to get back to that in a second. Just for the people who are tuning in, I am with Clarence McAllister, or McAllister. Is that right? McAllister, did I say it right?
McAllister.
Oh, it is McAllister. Okay, I was right.
You're right.
I'm with Clarence McAllister. He's the CEO of Fortis. They do federal government construction, and they do hub zone contracting, as well as opportunity zone real estate development, which we're going to get into here in a second. If you like this video, please go ahead and press the thumbs up button. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and share this video with your friends and family who may be interested in selling to the federal government or opportunity zones, which we're going to get into here in a second. And also make sure you go and visit theblackbusinessschool.com, where we just don't help you climb the corporate ladder, we help you build your own as well. So we have classes on real estate development, we have classes on stock market, we have classes on small business entrepreneurship as well. So please check those out and get started today at theblackbusinessschool.com. So Clarence, I was at a conference recently. I was at the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, NAREB, and it's the largest Black real estate, trade association that is out there. And I was there. They had a special panel on opportunity zones and why people should be a part of it. And I was fascinated because I didn't know that opportunity zones even existed. So can you tell the audience, what is an opportunity zone? And currently, what's your role in terms of using opportunity zones to be a core piece of your business?
Certainly. So the opportunity zone is a fairly new tax law were implemented in the 2016-17 tax law program, right? That allows investors to invest gains from prior investments. And those investments could be from real estate or stocks. So if they have capital gains from any of those investments, they can roll those capital gains into property in the opportunity zone to either develop real estate or start businesses or invest in businesses in the opportunity zone. And as a return for that, if they keep their investment for a period of 10 years, then they basically all of the appreciation of that initial investment is tax-free after 10 years, right? There's a 5-year, there's a 7-year gate. So if you hold it initially for 5 years, then you get a 10% step up in basis on your investment. If you hold it for 7 years, you have another 5% step up in investment on your basis. But then you hold it for a total of 10 years, then you don't pay any taxes on those. So basically, let's say that you invest $1 million, right? In a building, you build something, you're substantially rehab a building in the opportunity zone, or you invest in a business, you buy equipment, whatever that is, right? You buy shares of a business in the opportunity zone. So you go in with $1 million, right? And after 10 years, let's say that investment goes up to 10 million, right? Your initial investment, because the business grows or the property appreciates, goes from 1 to 10 million. Well, those additional 9 millions that it appreciated are tax-free, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go
Right.
ahead.
Right. Again, there's the 5-year, the 7-year. So you know, if you invest $1 million, you don't pay any, because remember you sold an investment, right? And then within 6 months you have to invest in that opportunity zone. So after 5 years of that investment, you don't pay any taxes at that point of investment. You pay deferred taxes after 5 years. Okay. Then after 7 years, you pay another set of taxes with the deferred gain at a lower tax basis. But after 10 years, all that growth in your investment, you just put in your money and you don't pay any taxes over that, right? So there's about 8,000 census tracts, meaning 8,000 opportunity zones nationwide. We went through a process where every city mayor identified areas of, let's say, high unemployment or low family income, whatever that is, neglected areas that needed to be spruced up, right? Needed to be invested. Those areas were nominated to the governor for each state. So the governor then took those, he approved some, disapproved other areas, other opportunity zones, and they were sent to the IRS. So we're locked into about 8,200, I believe, opportunity zones or 8,200 census tracts that are being identified as opportunity zones. Those are the only ones where you can use this program. So as a result, you have lots of investors that, you know, especially people that do not need their money for a period of 10 years, right? I mean, if you need your money tomorrow, don't invest. If you need your money next year, don't, because if you take it out, there's going to be penalties, right? But if you can invest and leave your money parked for 10 years, then you have substantial gains that are going to be tax-free after that period of time.
Yeah, no, I love it. And, you know, I think that's, you know, of course, the big thing, right? So it's a market-based solution, or so they, you know, they claim, right? It's a market-based solution to move private investment dollars into areas that normally wouldn't see those private investment dollars. And they do so through the use of tax incentives, where you don't pay any taxes or very low taxes, to incentivize, you know, people with some extra cash to invest in those particular areas, whether you're talking about real estate or you're talking about, you know, businesses or something like that as well. So, you know, that's what it is in theory, and that's what, you know, well, that's what it is actually. But, you know, in practice, though, what are you seeing people doing to invest in these opportunity zones?
Well, first of all, the rules are still being finalized, right? The government was shut down for quite a while, so some of that, those rules are still being worked out after the government opened up. I believe the next 30 to 60 days, they will be finally put in place, right? So right now, there's very little investment because there's a little bit of uncertainty on how the rules will work. We'll probably see more by mid-year, but we're already seeing properties in the opportunity zones that are going up in value, right? As soon as they were identified as opportunity zones, the interest in these properties have gone on in value, right? But people are looking at building warehouses, multifamily is a big thing, or hotels. And we see more investment right now in real estate, but the other half of it is, or the other part of it is investment in businesses, right? So they can invest in opening restaurants, or there's some caveats. You cannot invest in casino or what they call sin businesses like massage parlors. Those are no. Liquor stores, none of those, or country club, none of those apply to the program, right? But they're looking at establishing perhaps software companies, right? Because those are high growth software companies in opportunity zones that will eventually go up in value, and then these investors will reap the benefits of it. Now, you say, well, yeah, in our community, we don't have a lot of money to invest that we can park for 10 years. But if you have a business, if you live in the community, you have one office, open an office, a business in the community, then you have access to more investors, right? They're willing to invest in your business because of that capital gains forgiveness. So that's kind of how we can participate, right? By opening businesses, have investors invest in our businesses. And again, like we're talking about doing development, right? Because most real estate developments, they don't use their own money. They seek out investors, right? So that's kind of the play that we need to be aware of that it's happening, because we're in the community. We in fact, in the opportunity zones, I believe the numbers say that 50% are Black and brown population in the opportunity zones, right? So these are our communities, right, that are being invested in.
Got you. So we're going to get back to that in 1 second, but just for the people who tuned in, I am with Clarence McAllister. Clarence is the CEO of Fortis. They do federal government construction and hub zone and opportunity zone real estate development. They're getting to that right now. So today's conversation is about opportunity zones and how we as a community can take advantage of those. So if you like this video, please press the thumbs up button on YouTube. Please share this video and also subscribe. Also head over to theblackbusinessschool.com. That is theblackbusinessschool.com, where we just don't teach you how to climb a corporate ladder. We teach you how to build one as well. That's why we're bringing on individuals like Clarence to talk about these things that many people aren't really talking about in the general public. So you can have a inside track to different opportunities, different resources that others do not have. So Clarence, back to opportunity zones. And one thing that I was noticing when I was on LinkedIn is when I typed in opportunity zone on LinkedIn, it took me a while to get to some Black people who actually have it in their title as something related to opportunity zone, or on their profile as something related to opportunity zone. What I saw mainly were white men who are taking advantage of these opportunities. And to me, that's somewhat ironic. And the reason is opportunity zones were meant to be a means of investing into areas that normally don't see, high investment private dollars coming in, right? And, that says to me, or I guess what concerns me is what's going to make opportunity zones different than any other just general gentrification types of things that are going on within our communities that are kicking, the poor people out of, where they live to make way for, this new money coming in and taking over a particular type of area. So can you talk about that a little bit more in terms of what are you seeing currently, in terms of opportunity zones and diversity and, just this problem of gentrification?
I agree with you. I see very little, Black and brown people getting involved in the opportunity zone. So you're correct when you say that you weren't able to find, people on LinkedIn. There aren't too many. Number one, it's a fairly new law that is still being disseminated. I mean, I've been part of different panels, like you said, to kind of educate our community on what it is and how to take advantage of it. Historically, the white community has been involved in real estate, for generations, and they know the power of it, and they have disposable income and the friends and family, right, that can invest in their projects that we don't have. So I agree with you that if we don't learn about this and we don't build a critical mass and we don't get involved in our communities, displacement will happen. That will be the end result of it, right? And again, we are in their community, so we know people that look like us that have owned property for generations, right? The expectation, of course, is that if you live there, that your property value is going to go up as well, right? It's going to go up because there's going to be a construction, a new building going up next to you in the neighborhood, right? But what could happen is that, these people they will cash out and they'll move on, they'll move away, right? And unfortunately, unless we learn more about this and we build some kind of community effort, in all of our cities, all of our community opportunity zones, to make sure these investments help our people in our communities, that unfortunately would be the end result, gentrification. And because the government is not putting anything to avoid that from happening. There is no safeguards. The cities or the states, they're not doing putting any safeguards either to avoid that from happening. There's some nonprofits out there, some foundations that are trying to put some programs in place to involve the community so that people will stay there. But, as a law, the law doesn't prevent anyone from just going in and buying people and, moving them out, unfortunately.
Got you. So let's talk about us getting into opportunity zones then, right? When you were looking at opportunity zones as a potential, investment vehicle or just market dynamics that make it, prime opportunity for investment, how did you go about learning more about opportunity zones? Like, what resources did you use to really educate yourself?
Well, first of all, I got involved, interest in opportunity zones because I'm I'm on the board of a nonprofit called Acción, and we're very active out here in the Southwest. And we provide micro loans, right, to individuals that are not able to go to a bank. They don't have the credit to go to a bank. So we lend them from $1,000, $10,000, more recently up to $1 million now. So I figure out, what, we want to help our people in our community, because if they become entrepreneurs, then they can hire more people and they lift their families and they lift those other families, the people that they hire, right? And improve the community. Besides, you mentioned Hub Zone. I've been in the Hub Zone, which stands for Historically Underutilized Business Zones, for the last 10 years. So for the last 10 years, I've established I bought a building in the Hub Zone in the Phoenix, and I hired people from the Hub Zone, right? So we improve the lives of people in the community, right? So by being in the Hub Zone and wanting to help the community and help entrepreneurs, I looked at the Opportunity Zone as a vehicle to use some of those investors that want to shelter those capital gains to invest through Acción into these businesses, right? Because the businesses that we serve are historically in poor communities, i.e. Hub Zones, i.e. Opportunity Zones, right? So that was the first reason why I got very interested in Opportunity Zone. So how can we use this new tax law? This was probably a year and a half ago, shortly after it was signed into law. And then really from there, I just started Googling as much as I could on opportunity zones and how it all started, which really, it started 10 years ago. It was in the drawing board for about 10 years ago, something not new. I mean, it was in the drawing board for about 10 years, and it wasn't until about 2 years ago that it was signed into law. So I started doing a lot of research into it and speaking to people, in real estate investors, and how they were, or family offices, for example, they're looking at using this tax law to shelter those capital gains, and then just start talking to CPAs, attending lots of workshops. The workshops in every city, really. I mean, the cities are putting up these workshops. The states are doing it. There are attorneys all over the country that are setting up these workshops for free. So you can go learn, and CPAs that are heavily involved in that. So I really started networking and learning as much as I could. And I realized that, you know what, today there's more money than projects in the opportunity zone. There's more, because it's fairly new, there's more investors out there looking to place their money than actual projects that they can invest on.
Yeah, no, that's interesting that you talked about that. And you mentioned like the hub zone stuff too, right? And I think it's awesome that you're using all these resources to educate yourself on this, I guess, new market or tax law that's coming into effect. But you also mentioned hub zones, and just like it seems like over the last, and of course I've only been in business since 2007, but from talking to older individuals or people who are older than me who have been in business a little bit longer than myself, it seems like there has been some form of opportunity zone that has been happening since the 1980s, right? So some initiative or something to get people to invest in a certain area or to revitalize certain areas, and those types of just initiatives to really help a certain population, oftentimes Black and brown folk, right? What do you think makes opportunity zones different in terms of having, I guess, long-term sustainability in solving this problem of investment in areas that normally don't get investment?
You're correct. I mean, there's been the new market tax credits that's been around for decades, and really a lot of people have made a lot of money, a lot of investments using these tax programs. The opportunity zones is just the latest and greatest, right? And it's really more powerful than let's say 1031 exchange as well, where you sell a property and you buy another one, you don't pay any taxes. Well, you will eventually pay taxes. You keep doing 1031 exchanges. The day you stop doing a 1031 exchange, you're going to pay taxes on that, right? The opportunity zone, it's being known as the largest transfer of wealth in a generation, right? They're talking about $6 to $7 trillion in the market, in the stock market right now. I mean, so there's people sitting on investments right now that they don't want to liquidate because they don't want to pay the taxes. So these are really the people that proposed this law. These were the people. I mean, we're talking about Silicon Valley entrepreneurs that have grown their companies, Google and Facebook and Napster, all of those. These are the people that really push for this law because they have all this paper gain in the stock market, that the day they sell it, if they don't invest it in a program like this, for example, they're going to pay a huge amount of taxes, right? So yeah, because of that, is the greatest and latest and greatest. There's $6 to $7 trillion out there, and it's something that's going to help our communities. I think that there's huge potential, and we're already seeing a lot of family offices, for example. These are people that have investments and that they're getting ready to transfer to their next generation. So they don't need this money for the next 20 to 30 years. They can invest it and sit on it for 10, 20 years, right? So because of all of this money that's out there, I think it's going to be better, definitely better than 1031 exchange, and better than the new market tax credits and any other programs that have been out there.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome. And you've talked about the educational component in terms of how you went about educating yourself about everything. Actually, before I get into that, quick commercial break. Here with Clarence McAllister. Clarence is the CEO of Fortis. They do federal government construction, hub zone work, and also opportunity zone real estate development, which we're talking about today. If you like this video, you like this topic of opportunity zones, please go ahead and press the thumbs up button on YouTube, share this video, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please make sure you also go over to theblackbusinessschool.com. That is theblackbusinessschool.com, where we don't just help you climb a corporate ladder, we help you build one as well. Have classes on real estate development. We have classes on stock market investing. Also have classes on small business entrepreneurship, in addition to the other things that I've mentioned. So head over to theblackbusinessschool.com. And Clarence, I want to jump back into this concept. Or I guess, you've already talked about the education piece in terms of how people can go about educating themselves or how you went about educating yourselves. But we haven't necessarily talked about the opportunity, right? In terms of how one can take advantage of the opportunity, as, someone who is, a Black professional, or just someone who is just interested in, real estate investing or having a business, small business or whatever. Can you talk about specifically about some of the opportunities to really get involved? Because I know people in the community, I guess that I know, may not have access to family offices or may not have access to some of these investors that are out here. So, like, how can someone actually take advantage of these opportunities that are happening in opportunity zones?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're an attorney, right? An attorney needs to put together what's called a qualified opportunity fund, right? That needs to be drawn up by an attorney, right? So there's, again, work for attorneys. If you are an engineer, an architect, then, we're going to need designers and engineers to design and build these buildings. If you're a contractor as well, right? We'll need people to build these buildings. If you're a real estate broker, then you're already aware of what are the hot areas in your city, right? And you could be either a broker or team up with a group of people that have capital gains, because some of us we own stocks, or we know people, or team up with people that have investments that they want to liquidate. And by us being in the community and knowing the community, we know where those hidden gems are, or we have family or friends that own property in the opportunity zone, and we could advise them in terms of, if I own a lot in the opportunity zone, for example, and I don't have the money to invest, well, I have two options. I could sell to an investor, right? Or I could joint venture with an investor, right? So investor can come in and you can put up your land and say, hey, I want 25% of this, right? So now not only are you getting cash for that property, but you're getting long-term ownership of that project when it's completed, right? So again, these are all different areas. If people that work with nonprofits, right? How can we help entrepreneurs? Or entrepreneurs in the community, right? If they're looking for investors, this is easier, or would make it more appealing to an investor to invest in their businesses, right? So the real estate or the business has to make sense, first of all, without the tax forgiveness, right? The real estate, you put a business plan, it has to make money without applying the capital gains forgiveness. So if it makes money, if it's a viable business, a viable development, then that tax forgiveness is just icing on top of the cake, right? So again, there's different areas where we could potentially get involved, even if we don't have the capital to do so.
Got you. Love it. That was the advice that Brother John Lewis, Black banker, out of Maryland, mentioned as well. He was talking about the just need for advisory and professional services as it relates to these opportunity zones and just investment in general. And I think you just hit on a lot of the same things that he was hitting on. It gives me a lot to think about too, as we think about our next move in terms of where we're going to lead and guide our audience in terms of just opportunities that are out there. So I guess my last question for you is you've been in business for 20 years now, on your own. What is the best piece of advice that you have for someone who wants to start, working with opportunity zones or just the federal government in general in terms of like business? Like, what would you recommend that they do?
Absolutely. I mean, let's start with business, because this is all businesses, right? And you have to be prepared, right? I went to college. I got all the education out of the way, so I could learn about how to put together a business plan, financial planning, and things like that, right? But if you're good at what you do, right? Even you're a plumber, right? You're an electrician, whatever you are. If you're good at what you do, surround yourself with people that are going to help you, right? Because I've worked with a lot of small entrepreneurs. They're good at what they do. They're not necessarily financial savvy or business savvy. Well, if you're not, then surround yourself with people that can help you, can advise you. And these could be friends, could be family, could be nonprofits out there that provide consulting, some for free, You know, we have several here in Arizona. You know, the chambers of commerce, they do that. The small business community centers, the SBA, right? They all have programs where you can shore up your weaknesses, right? If you're good at what you do, but you don't know how to do accounting. You know, when I started, I did my own accounting. I did everything myself. I couldn't afford hiring a CPA, right? So if you don't know any of these other things, or if you don't know how to do business with the federal government, and if you want to do business with the federal government, then go to the SBA. You know, they'll tell you the nuts and bolts on how to go about that. So really, in general, just surround yourself with people that are going to elevate you, that are going to help you achieve, you know, be successful, to get you where you want to be. Really, and just be consistent. You know, it's you know, Rome was not built in one day, right? And I've been doing this for, you know, 19, almost 20 years, and there will always be ups and downs. But if you are committed to what you're doing, and you know, you provide good customer service, then the business will come your way. And eventually you grow your company, and you hire other people, and you feel that sense of reward because you're helping other people, you're helping the community. With regards to real estate development, it's the same thing. I mean, you got to start. Real estate development is a business at the end of the day, right? So you need to understand, you know, legally what you can do, what you cannot do. If you're a realtor or in construction or finance, whatever, it all boils down to being good at what you do, and necessary team up, partner, joint venture with others that can help you in those areas where you are lacking.
Love it. Yeah. So if people want to get in touch with you, how do they go about doing so?
Certainly by LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, Clarence McAllister. I'm on Facebook as well, Clarence McAllister. My email is cmcallister@fortisnetworks.com. And, you know, we have projects all over the country. We have projects in South Carolina, and Oklahoma, Chicago, Kansas. So we really are open to any projects. If anybody here knows about an opportunity zone project or property that's ideally in an opportunity zone that is feasible property, drop me a line. You know, let's talk. If anybody here wants to invest in the opportunity zone, you know, let's talk. And you know, that's how we can. That's kind of what I was talking about, right? If you have a certain area of skill and you need another area, then that's how we can work together, so we can all be successful. So yeah, my email, cmcallister@fortisnetworks.com. On Facebook, Clarence McAllister. LinkedIn, Clarence McAllister. And thank you for the opportunity for being here and sharing what I've learned over the last 20 years with others out there that are probably doing what I'm doing or want to do what I'm doing. I'm always glad to do that. I always look to mentor other people, and you know, I love giving back to the community.
Love it. And Clarence, thank you so much for your time. And if you like this video, everyone, first, please reach out to Clarence. You know, obviously he knows what he's talking about, and he's delivered some gems of great information to us today. So please reach out to him. If you know of opportunities and you want to work with him, you know, reach out to him and you guys have that conversation. If you like this video regarding opportunity zones, please go ahead and press the thumbs up button on YouTube. Please go ahead and share this video with friends and families and other individuals that you know who may like to talk about the same types of things and who may benefit from the information that was shared today. Also, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and head over to theblackbusinessschool.com. That is theblackbusinessschool.com, where we don't just help you climb the corporate ladder, we help you build one as well. So on behalf of Clarence McAllister, I'm Lawrence Watkins. I'm the founder and CEO of Great Black Speakers, also the president and chief operating officer of the Black Business School. You guys take care, be blessed, and have a great day. All right, bye-bye.
Great, thank you.